Hello everyone, it's Beleno, the Spiral to the Self, coming to talk to you about this week's energies and corresponding chakras, okay? It's going to be from July 18th to the 23rd. This week we're going to have Chiron go in retrograde in Aries, and the mythology behind Chiron was that he was abandoned as a child at no fault of his own, and this is going to bring about the wounded healer in us, because when our soul's journey goes through different wounds, and it sticks with us from previous lifetimes and this lifetimes. It's wounds that shapes us, that disempowers us until we get it healed, okay? And it's going to really help us step into those abilities and how to heal ourselves, okay? And the moon also goes in Aries, which will help us keep moving, because Aries is very, let's go, nothing stops us, we're going to get this, we're going to, we know we have to do this, we're going to get it going. But it's also going to help us get in touch with our emotions, bringing about compassion and thoughtfulness, to get going on this healing journey. Keep in mind, we are also in the waxing moon, so we're going to be releasing, letting go, or detracting from us. The sun in Leo occurs on the 22nd. The sun is all about luck, so the message I have for the week is tomorrow on Monday, make a wish for something that you want, and just make sure, be careful what you wish for. Make sure it's in a true alignment with whatever your soul and its purpose is. Make a wish, and it should start manifesting by the end of the week. That's where you're going to see that. This week is also about celebration of our progress and the growth. We've had the supermoon last month, we had the supermoon this month, and we'll have another one here in August. And the whole energies behind those is to release, let go of, to purge from our soul whatever is prohibiting us from experiencing that spiritual growth, to get to that, another tier of the spiritual awakening process, okay? It's about helping us honoring up, leveling up, and it's to honor ourselves and celebrating our wins. When you've upheld your boundaries that you've set, if you've decided that you're going to eat more healthy or something, it's, hey, we did this, look how far we've come. It's smelling the roses, okay? And at the end of the week, we're going to have the sun and Leo, they partner up with another asteroid called Suarez, and I think I'm saying it right, Suarez. Suarez energy is nurturing, and it's the nurturing energy of the mother, okay? And the chakra that coincides mostly with this, or that would benefit from this, is the Sacral Chakra. So sacral's here, you got your root down here, sacral, okay? And the Sacral Chakra is the power of relationships. It makes up the organs of your sexual organs, your large intestine, lower vertebrae, pelvis, appendix, bladder, and your hip area, so basically all of this. Energy of this chakra really starts to manifest at the age of 7. 7 is when children start to interact with other children and form relationships and start to understand the power of choice. So just a little key tidbit here, a little useless knowledge if you want it. Denmark, that country, their educational process is set up because of this, because children need to be able to form relationships with other children, and they need to have conflict resolution, and they need to learn how to free play. They need to learn how to kind of think for themselves to get that independence that they will need at the age of 7 that starts to be expressed, okay, for them to have a little bit of self-reliance. But Denmark, they won't allow children to go to school until they are 7, and it's because of that reason. I personally raised my kids this way. I followed the Danish model, silver linings, free play, like I'm not your source of entertainment. No one is your source of entertainment. You should be able to take simple things and be able to preoccupy yourself, to grow, to learn, because that's what free play is for, is to learn about, your world, your environment, about yourself. It's a very crucial time. This chakra goes into the need for relationships that goes outside of obeying the tribal authority, that fulfills us and satisfies us both personally and our physical needs. Fears of this chakra, okay, is fear of loss of control or being controlled by another. with addiction, you know, loss of control with substances, rape, loss of power of the physical body. You undergo some kind of traumatic accident that puts you in a wheelchair or something like that. Betrayal, financial loss, and it's a financial loss that impacts our environment. You know, like you lost your job and you have a family to support. Abandonment of a significant relationship, fear of that, of losing that, and what that goes into. Okay, so since we spoke of rape, there's a big reason why this chakra is very important. Okay, sexual energy plays a big part of this chakra. Okay, sex is about raw power, power to form strong bonds and intimate unions with another person and finding stability both internally and externally with that person. You know, being at peace with yourself as well as having that relationship to create another life. You know, to have that union. Okay, and keep in mind, sex, when you have it, you are sharing energetical bonds with somebody. That's why you can say there's such thing as casual sex or where you don't feel anything. That's not true. Each time you have sex, you share energy with somebody, and that can distort your energy afterwards. So there's just no such thing as doing it without actually harming yourself in some way. Speaking from personal experience, sex is spiritual liberation. Connects us to our bodies and our physical needs and sensualities. Okay, so rape, if you are raped, that disconnects your body from your spirituality and your mind. Okay, if you undergo rape, one of the things that you can get is PTSD, and you can get the PTSD to where you can't remember having sex. Your body, in an attempt to protect itself, will disconnect the mind and the body when it undergoes that. Okay, because your spirit and your body has just underwent a severe trauma. Okay, and a manifestation of that physiologically is that you can get this thing called vaginismus, which basically means your pelvic muscles clamps up because it thinks every time it has a sexual encounter, it's going to experience rape. Okay, and it thinks that it's closing out. It's going to close you off. But what it really does is it's more painful for the woman because her body's trying to fight you. And there's really nothing you can do about it. It can take years to get over this on a physiological level. So that's because of this. That power of the body, mind, and spirit was taken away from that person. They lost control of their bodily autonomy, and that's how it happens. A more positive thing about this chakra is it's in the age of 40. That's when women start to undergo Kundalini energy. Okay, and if that energy is not expressed, if that energy is not expressed, or I'm trying to think of the word. If you're not doing anything to get rid of the energy or to use it, it's going to basically build up and cause some manifestations, like starting the menopausal process where you start getting hot flashes. That's blocked Kundalini energy. Here's some more issues that can happen. Okay, menstruation, cramps, the severity of those. Yes, there are hereditary things that create that, but say if your issue is not hereditary and you're just, it's not something that's normal for you, that can be an internal conflict of what it is to be a woman. Okay, heavy bleeding and irregular periods. That means you're going through too much emotional stress. At one point in time in my life, I didn't have a period for like 3 months, and when I went to the doctor for it, I guess the only things you can have in the American health field reproductively is, I guess, you can only be pregnant or you can have an STD. So that's the only thing that I got tested for, and of course, nothing came about of those tests. But I didn't have it, and it was probably too much emotional stress. I was building the foundation for my family's lives. You know, I was working a lot. I was sacrificing too much of myself for the job I had at the time, so I wasn't able to heal. I wasn't able to rest. So, you know, if you don't give your body rest, it's going to get it in some kind of way, and I got sick. Okay, Or, those can be because you're internalizing confusion of sexual desire and the feeling of guilt for wanting it due to societal expectations. Everybody has needs, okay? It doesn't matter what gender you are, you're going to have that need. And it's not just sexual needs, but it's also, the emotional and spiritual aspect of the act itself that you need, that you crave. You crave relationships, okay? And as a woman, you are, no matter how, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, as a woman. If you want to express sex in a free way, without being in that traditional union, of marriage or, long relationships, you're going to basically have people tell you're worthless and that there's something wrong with you. And, another issue in the U.S. right now is the whole abortion thing. Well, that's going to impact the sacral chakra because it's the fear of control of the body. Someone rapes you, you lost control of your body, and now you lose the choices that goes with the control of your body. Little kids that get molested or something, puberty starts at the age of 8 now for women. So imagine having to explain to your kid why there's a pregnant 8-year-old girl in your class. Imagine that, because there's only one way you're going to have that, and that's, somebody obviously abused that child. But we're gonna start seeing that surface in the educational system now that we have the certain policies in place, and you're gonna have a lot of reproductive issues because of that, because that fear, the fear of the no control of having your life impacted by someone else's decisions. Okay, and this also goes for fertility and tubal problems, like the inability to get pregnant. If you have unhealed wounds to your inner child, it can literally block the eggs from being fertilized or from even moving out of the tubes. Okay, and this chakra also enables us to generate a sense of personal identity and protective psychological boundaries. So the walls we put up, after you went through some stuff, that generates a healthy physical ego that helps us to interact with the world without having to sell ourselves, okay? Energy of self-sufficiency or survival instincts. The second chakra enforces and interacts with our contracts. I don't know if you've ever heard of this term, but contracts, it's our soul comes to this world with an expectation of it. Has to go through these challenges, has to go through these issues to overcome, has to meet these people to learn this, or to basically further along on its spiritual journey to get to whatever the end is. No one knows what the end is. But every relationship that we have, either the least significant, like somebody ran into at the gas station, or the most significant, like a partner, they all have a purpose, and it's to teach us about ourselves and to bring forth the circumstances and knowledge to further us in our paths. No contract is by coincidence. It is divine plan, okay? And it's to reach our consciousness so that way we can become more of the collective unconscious. The collective unconscious, you may hear this a lot, and if you don't understand what it is, I can briefly explain it by just telling you about the movie Avatar. Avatar, in that scene where all of the Avatar are sitting on the ground with their tails in the ground, and there's that string that connects each and every one of them to the tree, okay? Well, this is reflected into different spiritualities and religions. You've got mythology. You've got the Viking, the Norse, and their Urusel tree. You've got the Celtic and their tree of life. Buddha. It all enforces that we are part of the collective unconscious. We are part of the whole. Okay, all is one. And with these contracts, we're going to have archetypes. Caroline Myss, she is phenomenal. She is the first woman I have ever had the privilege to learn from that and be inspired by, that isn't intuitive, but she has a PhD in medicine. She used both of her gifts to help people. And she talks about archetypes that we go through and that we have inside of ourselves. Okay, so think of an archetype as a label. She goes further into it, but just think of it as a label, like the mother. We all know, say, if you go, hey, she's a mother, we have all of these characteristics. We know what a mother is, and we would say, well, that's not what a mother would do. That's an archetype. But then also, it's reflected into our contracts. People who come to us and what their purpose is to teach you about yourself or to test you to get to that, the different tiers of spiritual awakening. Okay, and there's 4 different survival archetypes that you're going to experience: the child, the victim, the prostitute, and the saboteur. Okay, and the 2 archetypes that coincide with the energies of this week, because it's all about healing. And it's probably going to be a big wound that would arise from contracts that exhibit these kind of archetypes. And that's the victim and the prostitute. Okay, the prostitute. I know you think it's all sexual. It's not. It's not what you think it is. But it's the comes into play when our survival is threatened. Okay, this is mostly paramount in miserable partnerships and or miserable jobs. Okay, what you're willing to sacrifice of yourself to keep this. What are you willing to give of yourself to have that toxic job? What are you willing to sacrifice of yourself to keep that toxic relationship that's not fulfilling you? And it's your morals, your integrity, your intellect, your boundaries that you're willing to give up, your body, your soul. And they're essentially tests your power of faith, because if you have faith in the divine, I'm not talking about God, I'm not talking about Yahweh, I'm not talking about Allah, I'm not talking about Buddha, I'm talking about like your belief in the universe that it's going good for you and that it will always have you, and that you've already passed all these tests before that were meant to break you. You survived them. Okay, so you should have trust that no matter what's going to get thrown at you, you're going to handle it. You're going to take care of it. You're going to be fine. You survived much worse, okay? And so once you have that, nothing can touch you. Nothing can put you back in that survival mode and that lower vibrations. That's going to attract certain archetypes once you get out of that. And so a personal account I can give you to explain is it seems like in my later 20s, the contracts that I had that were significant relationship ones that healed me, that fulfilled me, that they were people that I love the most, in all of my encounters of partnerships. I had one that was a very intimate one. I had PTSD from undergoing a trauma, and this person healed me. This person helped me reestablish trust in another person, in a union, to make it to where I didn't have to rely on certain substances just to be able to do the act, because of the trauma that I endured. Okay. Well, then I had another one that was my spiritual and an intellectual connection, my contract for that, and what they taught me. And it seems like the archetype that was prevalent from both of those contracts was the prostitute. What was I willing to sell of myself to maintain those relationships? They are the most positive relationships I've ever had. I'm not talking about toxic ones. Toxic ones would be more into the victim archetype, which I'll get into that here in a second. But it was, when I got into the relationship with the more intimate one, I was at a different spirituality. I was at a different part of my awakening process. I was in lower vibration because I was surviving. I was trying to get those firm foundations for myself and for my family. Rebuilding myself internally. Not just my external world, but I had to rebuild myself internally of, establishing new boundaries, establishing different directives, changing my life around. Then I got jobs that, paid good, but they were more costly to me. They cost my spirit. They cost, my time, my health, because I never could get time off. Even with vacation, I'd still be called into work somehow. So I went through all of that. It seems like now that I've got a sense of empowerment, now that I've got that healing, I'm at a different spiritual awakening process, and the person I was with was not there. And I expressed that, hey, my spirit needs something different now. I know we've had this, we've agreed on it, that's fine, but I've grown, which you're supposed to. I've grown, my spirit's grown, and I need to move to the next step for me. And you can come or you can't. Well, the person was not ready. The person was not at that area. They were still in survival mode. They did not want to go up another floor to another level of spirituality. They were there. Okay, so I had to walk away. I had to go. And here recently, the person showed me an act of love. He gave me his time. He gave me his energy. He did something. He rebuilt something in my house. And that was a grand thing. But it seems like when you reach another level of enlightenment, you will have these archetypes that will come and try to entice you and try to get you to go back down to where you just came from. Get you down to another level. But if you go back down to this level, you're going to repeat all the same cycles again. You're gonna repeat the same lessons. And it can even be the same people all over again, just cycle after cycle after cycle. You will repeat it if you can't break away from this. And it seems like my test was, hey, you know what my spirit needs to move forward with this union. You know what I need in order to do this. But that's not being offered by you. But you're showing me love. You're showing me time. You're showing me effort. But you know that this is what I need. But that's not what's being offered. So, and then the intimacy and everything comes in. Now you're wanting me to sacrifice or to sell of myself, my boundaries that I've set in place for what my soul needs to keep going up and not go back down. And it's like, okay, well, now I'm no longer going to entertain you. Now I'm not going to entertain you in my life. And it seems like the past 2 weeks, I've had the same kind of tests from different soul contracts of mine. And it seems like the notable outlier for me, just to identify what archetype they were and what they were in my journey. It just seems like the telltale time was to offer sex to me or to indicate that they were attracted to me. But like I said, nothing's being offered. It's just to entice me to go back down to that lower vibration, to, it's a test. It's a test to see if I deserve to move up. It's a test to see if all the things that I've done, for the past 2 months of the super moons and, what I'm continuing to do. It was a test to see if I could stay here. I had the test of disempowerment, of things that would take my power away. I lost my train of thought. Another thing about the archetype is that it's not personal. It's not personal. And you can't look at it that way. You have to look at it symbolically. Like, look at your life outside like this and go, okay, here's my lifeline. Here's where I'm at in my growth. Here's where I'm at in my phase of life. Here's where I'm at. And the contracts that are coming to me, they're going to have this lesson. Okay? I don't hate them for it. I appreciate and I love every person that's been in my life because they have made me into who I am today, and I absolutely love myself. There is no self-hatred here, okay? But it's very hard work. I went through a lot of stuff. I went through a lot of stuff that tried to break me, and you know what? Nothing stopped me. And I'm not going to stop until I get to the very top tower, whatever end cycle of spiritual awakening is. I'm going to get there. Nothing's going to drag me back down. But it's just, you have to look at it and personally, like that's what their purpose was for your life. It was to teach you that lesson, and you thank them and you release it and you move on. The next archetype we're going to talk about is the victim one. Okay, this can occur, when you undergo abuse, domestic violence, rape, something like that. It's or getting in trouble for something that you didn't do, that can impact this. It's basically you're giving up a sense of empowerment to avoid taking responsibility for your independence. You can have something tragic happen to you and not live in the victim mentality. You can only have one or the other of the victim mentality. You can either have pity or you can have power. You can use what happened to you to go, okay, well, here's what I learned from that. Here's how it's not going to happen to me again. How can I better assist others with my knowledge? So that way we don't repeat it, especially with families. Like, what did I learn about myself and my path? So that way I can better prepare my children so they don't have to undergo the same things. They can have happier, more fulfilled lives. Okay, and it's the choosing. Some people choose to stay in the victim mentality because of the attention they get for it, or that they have someone taking care of them. Having someone take care of you when you're the victim, having that sense of, it's a different kind of spotlight, but it basically essentially means you have giving a part of your power to someone else. Okay, and you need to stand up for yourself. That's what this is about. The victim mentality will force you to stand up for yourself. So think if you've ever had bullies in your childhood, or had to defend your beliefs, your values, used your throat chakra. And this goes with family, partnerships, whatever. It's to stand up for yourself, stand up for your boundaries, stand up for what you believe in, for yourself, what you think is good for yourself. With relationships and jobs, you can fall into the trap of, well, conflict doesn't get you anywhere. Speaking up, saying, hey, this does not align with my soul's needs or my spirit, and there needs to be changes. How can we change that? How can we get better? How can we grow together? A lot of people will avoid it. They won't say anything, which, by the way, if you're not saying anything, now you're repressing that throat chakra. Now you're going to have a whole bunch of different ailments. And then when you disrupt your throat chakra, what's that going to lead to? When you're not vocalizing your say, vocalizing what you truly believe in, now it's going to impact your crown, and it's going to impact your third eye, because you're going to have self-hatred and self-loathing, and you're not going to be connected to the divine anymore. You're down lower vibrationally. Okay? So you have to stand up for yourself. There's a way to do it without being a jerk. There is. You can express your say, and if it doesn't, what you need to know, that I've learned myself, is that some things aren't meant to work out. You need to look at it as, this is where I am in my life, this is what this was supposed to teach me, or how it aided me in my path, and I'm on to bigger and better things. If you think that, you have that thought and that intention, thoughts have weight, you have that out, and that's what you're putting out to the universe. That's what you're going to get. If you have faith in the universe that it's going to do good for you, and that you and it you're working to be better. If you're fulfilling your purpose, you're fulfilling humanity in some way, you're always going to be okay. So if it doesn't work out, it wasn't meant to, and it was meant to teach you something about yourself. Like I said, I've had jobs that I've had to give up, and they were just entirely toxic. And it's like, if I didn't speak up for myself, you would have self-hatred. You would not trust yourself or your inner knowing. And if you have that, if you do not pass that test of standing up for yourself in whatever way, then it's going to keep happening, and you're going to notice that you're just running away from problems, and you will not, your soul will know that you are not willing to do anything for your best interest. It's a whole different set of problems, which we're going to go into. Physiological manifestations. Okay, so if we're not trying to heal our sacral chakra, okay, chronic lower back pain, sciatica, OBGYN problems, like I said, female reproductive issues, which if you do have that, and if you do have the ailments that I mentioned earlier, a good herb to keep medicinally, if you don't trust like pharmaceuticals, is motherwort. You can make it as a tea or a tincture. Do not use it at all if you're pregnant, but if you're anything but pregnant, then you can use it. And just keep in mind, it's a sedative, a mild sedative, so it could make you sleepy, but it's essentially going to take care of everything down there. When I drank it, and I had really terrible cramps, it would lessen the pain of those. You can make it into a tincture, which is something with alcohol, the herb being soaked in alcohol. If you take that, it would be more potent and more quick than the tea way. The tea is a gradual thing where you would have to have like 3 to 5 cups a day, versus tincture, it's concentrated, so you can do that. It should help. Pelvic lower back pain, which pelvic lower back pain is usually stress. Okay, sexual potency and urinary problems. People who pee the bed is because they have a lack of control of their bodily functions. Well, that's mental. Something happened. Okay? And all of these can stem from emotional issues like blame and guilt, money and sex, power and control, creativity, ethics and honor and relationships, which I know is a big one. Okay, so recapping for this week, it's all about healing. It's all about celebration of that healing, of how we can do that. But we're also going to have that nurturing energy. Maybe there's people who aren't in the same spiritual enlightenment level as you. They're going to come forward there, and you're going to have to nurture them. You're going to have to listen, be empathetic. Don't let them violate your boundaries, but be empathetic. Have that compassion. Tell them, or sometimes people just need you to listen. That's what therapists are for. They're at least that's what I think. They're there to listen. Get you somebody to listen to you. Tell your story. If you ever check out my Facebook business page, majority of things I post coincide with what my videos are, to give you that extra tidbits of information to get you further along throughout the week. Okay, and right now it's at the end of the week we're going to experience luck. So we're going to an end of a cycle, and new doors are about to open for us. That's what we really need to intentionalize. So tomorrow, what do you want to happen? Make your wish. Okay, and towards the end of the week we're going to have a new door open for us. We're going to get that luck. Okay. And we're going to nurture ourselves. We're going to love ourselves. We're going to be empathetic and compassionate to other people who, like I said, may not be at the same level. They may be in the survival level still, and their energy is all out of whack. The only thing you can do is listen, okay, and just try to be there. But I keep firm boundaries. Otherwise, you're going to sell yourself, and you're going to be back down there with them. So there's a difference between listening to someone and selling yourself and ending up failing that test of faith. Okay, you're going to end up back down to their level if you entertain it too much. Okay, well, that's Elena with Aspire to the Self for this week. Bye, guys.